Hello, everyone. I would say good morning to you, but as you can stream and by the video that I already have going in the background, that this is not a good morning and we have serious matters to discuss. I am thoroughly irate over these proceedings. Chat comments, but just in case you haven't seen that, it is highly likely that I will be employing language that is most unsuitable to the ears of young children during the course of this broadcast, and unsuitable for those who might be a trifle sensitive in matters of swearing, so please make your plans accordingly. What you are looking at, and what I saw before I so much as had a sip of tea this morning, is the Just Stop Oil people that think the best way to get their message across is by desecrating pieces of art and apparent historical monuments, and also what just happens to be one of the remaining sacred sites of modern paganism. That's how they think they're going to get people to buy their line about what they think needs to happen to the environment, their various prescriptions, and their absolute doom-saying world view. That's how they think they're going to get the job done. Isn't it interesting that with these little groups, that their solution for anything untoward that might or might not be going on with the climate, that it involves the destruction of cultural property of Western nations, the achievements of some of our greatest artists and architects, and now sacred sites. Isn't it interesting that it requires the destruction of things we hold dear? Isn't it interesting that it requires people adopting even more socialism and communism, giving the government greater control over their lives, having less resources to look after themselves, and having to endlessly submit to their betters? Isn't it interesting that is what consistently takes place whenever these people make their demands? I reject the idea that anything has to do with the environment or the changes to the climate or anything else going on with that. That is not what these people are about. This is about hatred of the West. It is just an excuse to use it. I mean, there might be some thoroughly indoctrinated, brain-dead zombies who actually do believe the claims, and they're not looking into the actual scientific data of what is and what is not going on. There may be a few of that. You will always find very gullible, easily used people in any kind of moment. But the people who know better, the people who understand that this issue is just a means to achieve their political ends, they must be condemned in totality. I want people to understand what this is. This is not just an attack against the stones themselves, as sacrilegious as that really is. This is an attack of all of Western civilization. And if there happen to be any Christians, or you know Christians, you have Christians in your life who are under the impression that these same people are not going to be starting to attack well-known churches and cathedrals and desecrating their religious artifacts, then tell them to think again. Think about the timing. This is Solstice Eve. They chose to do this right before one of the holiest days in the pagan calendar. The summer solstice is something that pretty much every European pagan tradition actually does mark the occasion. It doesn't matter if you are Scandinavian or Germanic or Celtic or Gallic or Greco-Roman. It does not matter. The summer solstice is a date of significance to us all. And beyond that, you will find cultures throughout the world for whom the summer solstice is a rather high point of the year. That is a reality of it. So the fact that they chose to do this now, I do not accept as coincidental. They knew there would be people gathering there at Stonehenge tomorrow. They knew there would be people there to greet the dawn, and they wanted it to be about their desecration, their message, how what they thought had to be happening, and not about the reason why people actually came, which would be to mark the solstice, honor the gods, or just enjoy the beauty of the occasion, because not everyone who attends these events is a practicing pagan, and that's fine. They are still feeling the significance of the day. They're very welcome as far as I'm concerned. What is not welcomed are these people who are using our occasions and our buildings, because this is our inheritance. They are using what belongs to us all to make their political points. You really think that come Christmas time, we're not going to see them doing similar things to churches and cathedrals, especially in Europe? You really think that's not going to happen? Because I guarantee you, if this is not dealt with swiftly and harshly it will. Now, I understand that there have been 2 people who have been arrested. I couldn't help but notice that the names that were given were not exactly of Anglo-Saxon extraction. It didn't sound like names that are common to the Western world whatsoever. It's almost as if they chose the people to carry out this unwarranted attack to be people who were not actually British, or at least not ethnically English, or ethnically Irish, or ethnically Welsh, or ethnically Scottish. It was like that was a deliberate choice. So they can say, oh, you can't punish me because then you'll look racist. And if they happen to be a member of the youngest branch of the Abrahamic religions, they can say, oh, not only are you racist, but you're anti my religion as well. That's why you're punishing me. I have a very strong suspicion that these people who actually did the deed were very carefully selected to make sure that any backlash was minimized. Well, I am urging everyone within the sound of my voice and everyone within the sphere of your influence, do not fall for it. Put pressure in any way that you can on the British authorities to deal with this and the harshest sentences prescribed by the law. Now, as for my fellow witches, wizards, pagans, heathens, whatever term you are using to call yourself, at this moment, I do not care about our linguistic peculiarities. What I do care about is us not letting this go unchallenged. Tomorrow is the solstice, so all of us have our ritual plans and there are things we are going to be doing. In addition to that, I am pleading with you. Invoke the gods of sovereignty. Invoke gods of justice. Invoke gods who are known to be protectors of the people. Invoke them. Tell them that this has taken place. Ask for their intervention. Ask for them to deliver the divine justice that human law is never going to be able to do. You know why I think so many of our ancestors fell to the conversion besides being killed off or being bullied into it? You know why I think they did? It's because they allowed their relationships with their gods and with their cultural traditions to become weak. And that's why I think the gods did not just send the Abrahamics out packing from the get-go. I think there were mistakes made by our ancestors that led to what happened. I think this is a time to show the gods that we are sincere and that we are saying we are not going to stand for this. We are going to exist. Too many people have fought for too long and too hard to bring paganism back into the world. Too many people have made sacrifices for us not to be able to have our sacred sites left alone. Too many people have worked very hard to establish our legal presence within the Western world and saying we have every right to be here. We have every right to practice our faith. We have every right to have those full rights of citizenship. They have too much has been done for us to just put up with this, or to listen to excuses, or to cower back in fear for fear someone might call us a naughty word, or accuse us of things that we do not have in our hearts. Too much has been done. Things have gone too far. Just think about what Stonehenge has seen. This is an ancient monument. And there are a lot of different theories about, what its original purpose was and everything else. And that's fine. It's been existing for so long. It's probably been employed for multiple different purposes. I don't deny that. I don't have a problem with that. But think about what it's seen. It survived the conversion when so many of our sacred sites were trampled over. So many sacred groves, they were cut down so that people could have their little churches, so that the church could actually, get a foothold where it had no right to be. Think about how Stonehenge survived even that. Think about how it survived World War I and World War II. In World War II, the Germans were not choosy about their targets at all. They were not concerned with civilian casualties or with, oh no, we probably better not mess with that piece of historical architecture. They didn't care. It was about trying to break the will of the British to fight. That's what it was. And yet the stones survived. People have been married within these stones since paganism resurged back into the world. People have solstice rituals here. People come here for a variety of reasons. And even people who do not acknowledge, the spiritual properties of this place, they still see it for the incredible ancient achievement that it is. They look at it and they feel wonder, they feel awe, they feel reassurance that something that age has endured throughout all of the ages, no matter what has been going on with our politics or social issues, or climate, or anything else. They look at these things and they see hope. Well, right now, if they go up there, they're going to see orange paint. Now, I did see another post from Stop Oil, and they were making all kinds of pathetic excuses about how, oh, it's soluble in water, it won't do permanent harm. And I couldn't help but notice there were several people in the comments of that thread who were saying, are you aware of the ingredients in that stuff that you used? It's not as harmless as you think. Gosh, just a little bit more proof that these people are not environmentally conscious. They're not interested in treading lightly in the earth, and they are certainly not in relationship to the land. Anyone who's in relationship to the land doesn't go around desecrating pagan monuments. No pagan would do this. I don't even think any Christian would do that, no matter how, infected their brain is with their particular doctrinal zealotry. I don't even think they would do that just because they have respect for the historical significance of that site. I would, as badly as I'm prepared to think of some of them at some times, I would not imagine such a thing would come up in their hearts. It requires a very special kind of twisted, a very special kind of disrespect, and a person who just says, this land, this culture, these people, the entirety of their history and traditions from A to Z, they don't matter. They're not as important as me. And so I'm going to go around destroying it. I imagine that many people who follow me are also aware of Tim Pool. And he does Timcast IRL in the evening. And he's been floating and really pushing this idea of taking people who commit crimes of sufficient severity out of our societies completely, instead of just jailing them for years on end or having to deal with the issues are surrounding execution. He says, just banish them to an island. We put people on an island that, the island can support. You toss them supplies, every once in a while and say, figure it out. We're breaking up with you. You are not good enough to be amongst us. And so we're not supporting you any further. We are not taking care of you, and we are not going to allow you to harm us. You are banished to this island for life. And that idea is really taking root within my soul. He made a post about this today. He was saying that people who do this, that they're desecrating these artifacts and cultural monuments straight to the island. I agree. Banish these people. If it was up to me, the people who did this, whether they are technically British citizens on paper or whatever else, strip them of that. In fact, I wouldn't care if it was a native-born Brit who committed this atrocity. Anyone who did this, they should be stripped from their British citizenship. They should be banished from the shores of the British Isles. Quite frankly, I think they should be banished from the entirety of the Western world, or at the very least, of the Anglosphere, because that is how serious this is. That is how atrocious it is. That is the magnitude of the crime. I condemn this. And it does not feel like it is enough. So I do hope you take what I say into consideration. I hope you do call upon, again, God's sovereignty. God's having to do with justice. God's having to do with the protection of the people. Any kind, anything, anyone who you think, whether it is a god, a spirit guide, an ancestor, totem animals, bring every single magical ally you can to the forefront and say, I do not want this to stand, and I am asking for your aid to help make it stand. And speak out. Speak out. Do not be intimidated by the people who make excuses, or those who are going to say that you only have a problem with it because someone who wasn't white did this, or someone who may have been, we don't know this yet, but if they happen to be of a different religion, that there are issues with their religion. Make sure that you make it clear that this is about opposing the destruction of monuments of Western civilization and seeing this as an attack against you, your family, your people, everything, because that is what it is. Do not be scared. Now is the time for courage. These people are taking such extreme actions because they know they are losing the argument, and especially during these hard economic times, people are getting a little bit more concerned about the day in, day out of survival, and they do not have time for these luxury belief systems that say, I want to break everything. I want to break everything that exists because I don't like it for whatever reason. Yeah, people are having less and less time for that, and good for them. But let's make a dent. We can use our magic. This is absolutely a time to use our power and to invoke the cause of justice, because this must not be tolerated. That's all I have to say. I hope it means something to you. If it did, I hope you will share what I had to say with others. I hope you will spread the word on your own, and I hope we can gather as large a force as what we possibly can to challenge this both legally through the human justice system and to invoke the gods for divine justice, because that's what the situation calls for. Try to have as good a day as you possibly can. I'll see you guys next time, and hopefully on a better occasion. Bye, everyone.